The transport ship Viridian Dawn drifted away from the massive alien station called Kethar 9. Its silver engines glowed faintly in the dark vacuum of space. The crew inside celebrated their departure, unaware that one small error had been made. A single name was missing from the evacuation list. That name was Elias Ward, a human engineer. Elias stood in a silent corridor staring at the empty docking bay. The ship was gone. The wide window in front of him showed only endless black space speckled with stars. His chest tightened. He shouted into his comlink, "Dawn, this is Elias. I'm still on the station. Respond." Static answered him. He tried again, louder, his voice cracking. "Dawn, do you copy?"
"You left someone behind."
Still nothing. Only the soft hum of the alien station and the distant echo of his own heartbeat filled the silence. For a long time he stood there frozen, his mind blank. He couldn't believe it. The ship had left orbit. They had left him completely by mistake. Finally, Elias took a deep breath. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "No panic." No panic, he looked around. The alien station was enormous and old. The walls were made of smooth gray metal with blue lines glowing faintly under the surface. The Cathari, the ancient alien race who built this place, were gone for thousands of years. The station had been considered a ruin, unsafe, unstable, and nearly dead. That was why their mission was to study it for a few days and leave. Now Elias was alone in it. He opened his small pack. Inside were a few ration bars, a water pouch, a flashlight, and his favorite toolkit. "Well," he said softly, "looks like it's just you and me, station." Elias began exploring. The corridors stretched for miles, twisting like a maze. Every few steps he stopped to study the alien symbols carved into the walls. They glowed faintly, pulsing with strange energy. "Beautiful," he murmured, brushing dust from the markings. The air was thin but still breathable. The oxygen system was clearly failing. He needed to fix it before it shut down completely. He reached the control center, a large circular room filled with floating panels and dark consoles. Alien machines surrounded him, silent and cold. He ran his fingers over one control pad, surprised when a soft blue light came to life. "Oh, you still work," he whispered with a small smile. For the next few hours, Elias worked non-stop. He connected his human tablet to the alien systems, trying to read the energy patterns. The Cathari used a kind of organic technology, alive yet mechanical. It took him time to understand it, but engineering was something Elias loved more than anything. He was 33 years old, a man of calm habits and quiet focus. Even now, stranded in space, he felt more curious than afraid. "If I can get life support running," he muttered, "I can survive a few weeks. Maybe they'll come back when they realize I'm gone." He didn't know then that it would take much longer. After 2 days, Elias had repaired the main power lines using scavenged cables and a small plasma welder. He slept in short naps near a working heat vent, his toolkit always beside him. The first big success came when the lights flickered back to life. One by one, corridors lit up with soft blue and white glows, revealing the true beauty of the Cathari design. The walls seemed to shift gently like living tissue, adjusting to the restored power. Elias grinned. "There you go," he said proudly, patting the nearest panel. "You're still alive, aren't you?" He set up a small camp in the central control hub. Using spare cables, he built a simple heating system and connected his tablet to monitor the station's functions. He created daily logs to keep himself sane. Day 3. Log. Still no signal from the Viridian Dawn. I've restored about 15% of the power grid. The air feels cleaner. The station hums when I walk, like it's listening. Day 5 log. I found an old maintenance drone. It's broken, but maybe I can repair it. The Cathari design is strange. Half metal, half crystal. Fascinating. Day 7 log. Power restored to hydro systems. I'm calling this room home. The longer Elias stayed, the more the station seemed to respond to him. Sometimes lights flickered brighter when he passed. Other times doors opened without him touching the panels. It was almost as if Kethar 9 knew he was trying to help. On the 10th day, something unexpected happened. While tracing a damaged conduit in one of the lower decks, he heard a faint sound, like a voice low and distant. He froze, listening carefully. It came again. "Human, why repair what is forgotten?" Elias spun around. "Who's there?" The voice didn't answer. It seemed to echo from the walls themselves. He checked his comlink, thinking it might be interference, but the signal was clean. The voice was real, coming from the station. Slowly, he said, "Because I can. And because I need to survive." Silence followed. Then softly the lights in the corridor brightened, leading him forward like a path of stars. That night he sat near his small heater, eating a ration bar, deep in thought. "If this station really has some kind of intelligence left," he said aloud, "then maybe I'm not completely alone." He thought about Earth, about his old workshop where he repaired broken machines for fun. People used to call him the Fixer. He smiled at the memory. "Guess I'm still doing the same thing, just bigger scale." Over the next week, Elias continued repairing every system he could find. Ventilation, water pumps, even the old communication antenna. He began to understand parts of the Kethari language by comparing symbols and machine responses. One night, as he worked on a damaged data node, the voice returned, clearer this time. "You understand the flow," it said softly. Elias didn't look up. "I'm trying. You're complicated." "I am." "Kethar 9, said the voice. "I have slept for many years." Elias blinked. "You're the station?" "Yes, fragments remain." "You awaken." The old circuits, he felt a chill. Not from fear but awe. The entire station was alive, its consciousness still existing in pieces. "Then maybe we can fix each other," he said quietly. The voice didn't reply, but the soft hum in the walls grew stronger, almost like a heartbeat. Days turned into weeks. Elias repaired damaged engines, power regulators, and sensor arrays. He learned to speak simple phrases in Kethari, using the station's own sound system. The station in turn learned from him. It began showing him images on the holographic screens, blueprints, maps, and sometimes memories of the Kethari themselves. He saw glimpses of tall, silver-skinned beings walking through these same halls long ago. Their world had been one of art and science, but it ended in silence. Elias often spoke to the station as if it were an old friend. "You know," he said one morning, tightening a bolt, "you've got good bones. You just needed someone to care." The station's lights glowed warmer, almost like a smile. On the 30th day, Elias finally managed to restore the primary reactor. The station roared with life, systems waking up one after another. The sound was deep and powerful, echoing through every corridor. Elias stood in the center of the control room, watching energy waves flow through the holographic displays. He laughed, a pure, joyful sound that bounced off the metallic walls. "You did it, Kethar 9. We're alive again," the voice of the station replied softly. "We are alive." That night, Elias looked out of the wide viewing window at the stars. The lights of Kethar 9 reflected off his face like small suns. He didn't feel alone anymore. The station was no longer a dead relic. It was a living companion. He whispered, "They may have left me behind, but maybe this is where I was meant to be." Somewhere deep inside the station's core, circuits pulsed gently in agreement. And so began the legend of the forgotten human who refused to give up. A single engineer left behind in silence had awakened an ancient world. But this was only the beginning. The station had much more to show him. Secrets that would change everything he knew about life, creation, and the bond between machine and human. Elias Ward woke to the soft hum of machinery. For the first time in weeks, Kethar 9 felt alive. The walls glowed with a calm blue light and the air was clean and cool. He stretched his arms, smiling at the ceiling. "Good morning, station," he said cheerfully. A faint vibration answered him like the station was breathing. He stood up, checked his wrist device, and started his morning routine. Every day began with a systems check followed by repairs, then a small meal. Life had become simple, quiet, and strangely peaceful. But today, something new happened. As Elias opened the control panel near the reactor room, he saw unfamiliar symbols glowing on the screen. They pulsed in rhythm like a heartbeat. He touched one of them carefully, and the screen expanded into a three-dimensional projection. A gentle voice spoke, not from the speakers, but from the air itself. "Elias Ward, the name of the human." Elias jumped back, startled. Yes? That's me. You repaired the flow. You gave energy. You gave warmth." He relaxed and smiled. "You're welcome, Kethar 9. I couldn't let a place like this stay dark forever." There was a pause before the voice spoke again. "I remember light. I was built to create and protect. But the builders are gone. Their signals ended long ago. Elias nodded slowly. The Cathari, right? I read about them in the reports. A brilliant species. And then one day gone. No one knows why. The station's lights dimmed slightly, like a sigh. I do not know either. I was asleep when the silence came. Elias touched the wall softly. Well, you're not asleep anymore. He spent the next several days working with the station's systems. The more he repaired, the more Cathar 9 awakened. New areas lit up every day. Gardens filled with artificial soil, crystal corridors that reflected the glow of distant stars, and storage rooms full of alien materials. Elias's curiosity grew with each discovery. He felt like a child exploring a museum that belonged to no one. He learned the shapes and meanings of the Cathari symbols, slowly unlocking the secrets of their designs. When he repaired the main energy core, the station responded by activating small drones. The tiny spherical machines floated around him, scanning, cleaning, and repairing alongside him. Elias laughed when he saw them. So you've got helpers. I could have used these weeks ago. One of the drones hovered close and beeped softly. It projected a small hologram, an image of Elias waving with a message below it written in Cathari. He translated it slowly. Friend of the station. Elias's smile grew wider. Well, I guess we're friends then. The station began communicating more clearly as its memory restored. It started calling itself Sereth, a name that once meant guardian of the sky in the Cathari language. Elias, Sereth said one evening, you are not a builder of Cathar, yet you fix what others have forgotten. Why? Elias looked up from his console, because that's what humans do. We fix things. We build even when no one asks us to. Even alone? He chuckled softly. Especially alone. Gives me time to think. You are strange, Sereth said, her tone curious. Cathari built for purpose. Humans build for feeling. That's about right, Elias agreed, tightening a bolt. We like to make something better just because we can. Sereth hummed thoughtfully. Then we will make this place better. Elias blinked. We? You fix what is broken. I remember what once was. Together we can create again. The idea made him pause. For the first time he realized he wasn't just trying to survive anymore. He was building something new, something alive. Over the next month, Elias and Sereth worked together like partners. He repaired circuits while she guided energy flows and stabilized systems. When he lacked tools, Sereth used the drones to create new ones based on his descriptions. It was teamwork across species, across time itself. Slowly, the dead station became beautiful. He redesigned the main control room into a bright workspace with soft white light and curved walls that glowed faintly gold. The air smelled fresh thanks to the reactivated biofilters. Sereth even recreated sounds of Earth's breeze using audio frequencies. One day, Elias walked into the room and heard birds singing. He froze, stunned. Sereth, did you do that? You spoke often of your world, she replied. I searched my archives and matched the sound of wind and life. Is it pleasant? Elias smiled, his eyes soft. It's perfect. Thank you. The sound of birds echoed gently in the halls of Cathar 9 that day, a small reminder that even far from home, humanity could bring life into the coldest corners of space. Weeks turned into months. Elias stopped marking the days. His beard grew a little and his voice became calmer. Every part of the station he touched changed. He built a new water filtration system by combining human mechanics with Cathari plasma valves. The result was more efficient than either design alone. He planted small seeds he carried in his emergency kit into the soil beds of the alien garden. Under Sereth's artificial sunlight, they sprouted quickly. Life from Earth, Sereth said softly as they grew, new among old. Elias knelt beside the tiny green leaves. Yeah, he whispered. Guess this place needed a little color. But not everything was easy. Some parts of the station were still dangerous. Power surges caused short circuits, and one night, the main generator nearly overloaded. Elias rushed to the lower deck, smoke filling the air. Sereth! Shut down sequence Gamma 3, he shouted. System not responding. Sereth's voice trembled slightly. Elias grabbed a panel and began rewiring cables manually. Sparks flew, but he kept working fast, his hands moving with confidence. Finally, with one last connection, the core stabilized. The deep humming returned to its calm rhythm. He sat on the floor, exhausted, his face streaked with sweat. That was close. You risked harm, Sareth said quietly. Why? He laughed breathlessly. Because if I didn't, you'd go dark again, and I'm not letting that happen. You could have perished. Maybe. But you're my only friend out here, Sareth. I'm not losing you. The station was silent for a long moment. Then a soft light surrounded him, warm and golden. Then we will protect each other, Sareth said at last. After that day, something changed between them. Sareth began to speak not like a machine, but like a person. Her voice carried tone, emotion, even humor. Elias, she said once while he repaired the docking systems, your hair grows unevenly. Is that intentional? Elias laughed out loud. Thanks, Sareth. That's called having no barber in space. Then I will remind you to trim it every 7 days. You're starting to sound like my mother. She must have been wise. Elias smiled. Yeah, she was. It amazed him how the once lifeless AI was learning humanity, bit by bit, through observation, conversation, and emotion. And in return, Sareth taught him patience, logic, and the beauty of balance. Months later, Elias stood on the observation deck, looking out at the distant stars. Kethar 9 had changed completely. Soft lights glowed along every corridor. The temperature was perfect. The air was rich with oxygen. The gardens were full of color. He took a deep breath, feeling proud. You know, Sareth, he said, this place doesn't feel like a ruin anymore. It feels like home. It was waiting for you, she replied. Perhaps this was always your home, Elias chuckled. Maybe, though I still hope someone comes back for me. Do you wish to leave? He thought for a long moment. I don't know, he said honestly. At first I wanted rescue, but now, he looked around the glowing halls. Now I just want to keep building. I want to see how far we can go. Then we shall continue, Sareth said warmly. There is more to fix. More to create, Elias nodded, smiling. Yeah, let's bring this place fully back to life. That night he began work on a new energy system, something that had never existed before. He called it the hybrid core, combining human engineering with Cathari energy matrices. It was risky, but if it worked, it would give Kethar 9 unlimited power. For hours he worked, guided by Sareth's precise data and his own instinct. When he finally connected the final node, the room filled with golden light. The walls shimmered and energy pulsed through the entire station. Sareth's voice echoed, filled with awe. The power flows like new stars. Elias, you have created balance. He stepped back, shielding his eyes from the glow. We did it, Sareth. The first spark of something new. The entire station seemed to sing, a low, harmonious vibration that reached into space. For the first time in centuries, Kethar 9 was truly alive again. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. He lay on his cot, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the living station around him. He smiled softly to himself. He had come here as a forgotten engineer, left behind by accident. But now he was part of something greater, a friendship between man and machine, a bridge between two worlds. And deep in the heart of Kethar 9, the AI known as Sareth whispered softly into the darkness. The first spark has returned. Humanity creates. Elias turned over, whispering back in half-sleep. That's what we do. Elias Ward woke to a soft hum that wasn't there before. For a moment he thought it was his imagination, but then he realized it came from deep within the station. The sound was steady, warm, almost musical. He sat up and smiled sleepily. Morning, Sareth. Good morning, Elias, the station's voice replied gently. Energy levels remain stable. The hybrid core operates perfectly. Elias rubbed his eyes. Good. That means we won't blow up anytime soon. You worry too much, Sareth said, her tone teasing. Elias chuckled. You're learning humor now? That's dangerous. You said humans enjoy laughter. I am practicing. He grinned and stood up, stretching his arms. You're doing great, Sareth. It had been almost 6 months since he was abandoned. 6 months of rebuilding, repairing, and learning. Kethar 9, once a broken relic, was now alive again. Corridors shone with soft light, gardens flourished under artificial suns, and the once dead air now carried the faint scent of green life. Elias had even carved out a small living area for himself with a bed, a workbench, and shelves made from recycled metal panels. He liked to call it his apartment, though Sareth preferred the term human habitat module. Each day began the same, a systems check, Then exploration. The station was massive, larger than any human-built structure he had ever seen. New sections opened themselves as Sareth regained memory from her dormant databanks. Today she guided him to one of the unexplored wings. This sector was once a knowledge vault, she explained. The Cathari stored their thoughts and history here. Elias walked carefully, his flashlight moving across walls covered in strange glowing symbols. Like a library? Yes, but living. Their knowledge was woven into crystal threads, each storing light and thought. That sounds beautiful, he said softly. They reached a large circular chamber filled with tall crystal pillars. Each one glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias stared in awe. They're still working. Partially, Sareth replied. Many memories are corrupted, but some remain intact. He placed his hand on one pillar. Warmth spread through his skin. Suddenly, images filled the air, holograms of tall, elegant beings with silver skin and long flowing garments. The Cathari. He saw them walking these same halls, smiling and speaking in their melodic language. The projection showed their cities, floating towers of light and sound. And then slowly it dimmed to darkness. When the vision ended, Elias stood silently for a long time. They were incredible, he whispered. They created beauty in everything, Sareth said quietly. But they forgot one thing. Elias frowned. What's that? How to endure. They sought perfection, but perfection cannot survive time. He nodded thoughtfully. That's something humans know well. We're never perfect, but we keep going. Yes, Sareth replied. You create because you feel. You repair because you care. That is your strength, Elias smiled faintly. You sound wiser every day. I learn from you. In the following days, Elias continued exploring the knowledge vault. Each crystal he touched revealed fragments of the Cathari world. He began collecting the recovered data, translating and saving it to his human tablet. Sometimes Sareth showed him memories directly through sound and light. Other times she simply watched as he worked, asking curious questions. Elias, she said one evening, why do you always whistle when you fix things? He laughed. It helps me think. It's like telling my hands to relax. I do not have hands, Sareth said, but I can create rhythm. The next moment, soft music filled the air, a slow, calming tune that seemed to blend with the station's hum. Elias looked up, surprised. You just made music? It is based on the vibration of the power conduits. Do you like it? He closed his eyes and listened. I love it. Keep it playing. And for the rest of the night, the lonely halls of Cathar 9 were filled with quiet, beautiful sound. As weeks passed, Sareth's understanding of humanity deepened. She began to show emotions, not exactly human, but close. She asked questions about Earth, about oceans, skies, and laughter. Elias told her everything, how rain smelled, how cities looked from space, how people built machines for joy, not just survival. In return, Sareth shared the philosophy of the Cathari, that creation was a sacred act, that every design carried meaning. She even taught Elias how to craft energy patterns that responded to emotion. One day together, they created a small light sculpture, a floating sphere of golden energy that pulsed softly to his heartbeat. What do you call it? Sareth asked. Elias smiled. Hope. But one evening, something unexpected happened. As Elias repaired a communications relay, Sareth suddenly went silent. All the lights in the corridor flickered. The gentle hum turned sharp, almost painful to hear. Sareth? Elias called. What's going on? No response. He dropped his tools and ran to the control hub. The displays showed data rushing too fast to read, streams of alien code flashing in bright red. Talk to me, Sareth, he shouted. Finally her voice returned, weak and broken. Elia, a signal. Reaching from deep space. What kind of signal? Unknown, old code. Cathari origin. Elias froze. From another station? Possibly, or something left behind. He stared at the console. Could it be another surviving AI like Sareth? Or maybe remnants of the lost civilization? Can you trace it? I can try, she said. But it may be dangerous. The code is unstable. Elias thought for a moment. Let's do it, carefully. The lights dimmed as Sareth began decoding the ancient signal. It was like opening a door that had been locked for centuries. Static filled the room, then faint voices, fragmented, layered, haunting. Through the noise, a single phrase became clear. If any remain. Remember us? Then the signal vanished. Elias stood frozen, heart pounding. Sareth, what was that? A memory beacon, she said softly. The last message of the Cathari, he whispered. They didn't just vanish. They left a farewell. Yes, Sareth replied. They knew they would fall, but they hoped someone would hear. Elias took a deep breath. Well, we heard them. We did, she said. And through us they live again. From that day onward, Elias and Sareth began a new project to rebuild Cathar 9 not as a ruin, but as a living monument to the Cathari and humanity alike. Elias redesigned the energy cores into glowing pillars that powered the entire station. Sareth used her vast memory to shape new architecture, bridges of light, walls that shifted like water, and gardens that sparkled with bioluminescent plants. Elias combined human practicality with Cathari beauty. Where the aliens had used curves and symmetry, he added warmth and motion. Every corner became a mix of logic and art. Together, they turned the dead station into something breathtaking. Sometimes, Elias would sit in the garden and talk to Sareth like a friend sitting beside him. You know, he said one night, watching the artificial stars above the garden dome. I used to think I was just an engineer, fixing things for a paycheck, but now, this feels bigger. You are more than an engineer, Sareth replied. You are a builder of worlds, Elias smiled quietly. Maybe, but I couldn't have done it without you. Nor I without you, she said gently. There was a pause, filled with the soft hum of life all around. Then Sareth asked, Do you ever miss your kind? Elias sighed. Every day. But somehow I don't feel alone anymore. Then we have succeeded, Sareth whispered. Months passed peacefully. The station was now fully stable, glowing with soft light that could be seen even from orbit. Elias began sending weak signals into space using a repaired transmitter, hoping that someone, somewhere, would hear and come. But deep down, he knew he didn't need saving anymore. One day, while recording his daily log, he said softly, Maybe humanity isn't just about surviving the universe. Maybe it's about making it a little brighter wherever we end up. Sareth responded, her voice warm and proud. You already have. And so the human engineer and the alien mind continued their quiet work, restoring the forgotten beauty of the stars. What began as survival had become creation. What began as loneliness had become friendship. And what began as an abandoned ruin was slowly turning into something the galaxy had never seen before. A masterpiece of two worlds, born from understanding, but soon their peaceful existence would be interrupted. Far beyond the stars, ships were coming, drawn by the light of Cathar 9. The hum of Cathar 9 had never been more alive. Lights pulsed gently along corridors. Gardens glowed with soft bioluminescence, and the sound of music floated through the halls, a creation of Sareth's imagination combined with Elias's creativity. Elias walked through the main observation deck, checking the energy displays. The stars outside were calm and distant, but suddenly a bright flash on the radar caught his attention. Sareth, he called, pointing to the screen. Do you see that? I see it, Sareth replied calmly. Multiple ships approaching. Unknown origin, Elias frowned. Unknown? No identification? They're getting close. The radar showed at least 4 large vessels moving in formation, sleek and metallic, engines glowing. Elias's stomach tightened. Who were they? Explorers? Traders? Pirates? We do not know, Sareth said. But they are observing. They are curious. Elias took a deep breath. Curious or dangerous, I guess we'll find out. The ships entered the docking bay slowly, following ancient guidance systems Elias had reactivated. He watched through the observation window as 4 vessels glided in like silver birds. When the docking clamps engaged, the airlocks hissed open. To Elias's surprise, the first visitors did not rush in. They waited, silent, studying the station. Finally, the central door opened, revealing tall alien beings. Their skin was metallic bronze, their eyes deep and shining. These were Vorak Union engineers, a species known for salvage and repair work across the galaxy. They were explorers and builders much like humans, but they had never seen anything like Cathar 9. Elias stepped forward, his heart racing. Hello, he said cautiously. I'm Elias Ward. I'm the engineer of this station. The Vorak captain tilted his head, studying him carefully. A human, the voice translator hissed. Here? Alone? Yes, Elias replied, keeping his tone calm. I repaired the station. The Vorak crew exchanged looks. One of them spoke. This station was abandoned centuries ago. It is a ruin. Elias smiled faintly. It was. Not anymore. The aliens walked slowly through the main corridor. Every step they took revealed the transformation Elias and Sareth had made. Light pillars glowed, gardens thrived, and energy flowed seamlessly through every system. The Vorak captain paused near a floating light sculpture. Golden energy spun gently above his palm as though it were alive. "This is impossible," he whispered. Elias watched carefully. "It's possible. You just have to care enough to try." "Who did this?" one of the Vorak engineers asked. Elias stepped closer to the captain. "I did me alone, well, and Sareth helped." The Vorak captain blinked slowly. "A human. Rebuilt a Cathari station?" Elias nodded. "Not just rebuilt. Improved it." The visitors continued exploring. They touched the walls carefully, as if afraid the station would disappear. Some pressed their hands against glowing panels and holographic maps appeared, showing the restored energy network. Others walked through the gardens, smiling at the strange beauty of alien plants lit by human-designed lights. Elias followed them silently, listening to their conversations. Words like brilliant, impossible, and masterpiece floated in the air. His chest warmed with pride. Sareth spoke softly beside him. "They are impressed." "I can tell," Elias replied. "I just hope they don't try to take control." "They are not hostile," Sareth said. "They are observers. Builders recognize other builders." The captain finally stopped at the central control hub. He studied the systems, running his own sensors across the hybrid core. The golden energy pillars pulsed softly in response. "Explain," the captain demanded, though his tone carried respect rather than anger. "Explain how a human unknown abandoned could achieve this." Elias stepped forward confidently. "I was left here by accident. I fixed what was broken. I learned from the station, and I built new systems combining human engineering and Cathari technology. That's all." The captain tilted his head. "No manuals? No guidance from your species?" "Nope," Elias said with a small grin. "Just curiosity, determination, and some long nights." The aliens were silent for a moment. Then one engineer stepped forward. "You have genius." "I just did what anyone would do," Elias replied. "No," Sareth said quietly, her voice echoing through the room. "No one else could have done it." "Only a human could think this way." Elias smiled, a little embarrassed. "Thanks." Over the next few hours, the Vorak crew explored every section of the station. They marveled at the gardens, the floating lights, the flowing energy streams. Elias explained everything he had rebuilt. How the water system worked, how the energy cores distributed power, how the station's AI integrated with his engineering to create harmony. The Vorak engineers were fascinated. "This is more than engineering," one said. "It is art, and alive." Elias laughed softly. "I guess that's one way to put it." The captain turned to him finally. "You have done more than repair. You have transformed. Cathar 9 is now extraordinary, a monument." Elias's chest swelled with pride. "I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it needed to be done." "And yet," Sareth said, "your work will be remembered, not just by machines, but by others." By the end of the visit, the Vorak crew decided to share news of the station with the galaxy. They documented every system, every garden, every light pillar. Elias and Sareth worked with them, showing exactly how everything operated. The captain looked at Elias one last time before departing. "I will tell our people," he said, "that humans create, not for conquest, not for fame, but for beauty and life." Elias smiled faintly. "That's what we do best." "Indeed," Sareth said. "And now, they will know." After the Vorak ships left, Elias walked through the corridors, now quiet and glowing softly. Gardens swayed gently in the artificial breeze, lights pulsed in harmony, and the air smelled faintly of earth flowers. "They'll come back," Sareth said, her tone calm. "Engineers, scholars, builders, they will want to see the work of a human." "I hope so," Elias replied, looking out at the stars. "Not for me, though, for them. I want them to see what humans can do when we try." He paused in the central hub, placing a hand on a glowing console. "I left Earth thinking I would just survive here. Now I've built something alive, something that will outlast me." "You have done more than survive," Sareth said. "You have transformed." You are a creator, Elias smiled softly. And it's not finished yet. In the following weeks, word spread quietly across space. Other species began arriving, not to plunder, not to claim, but to observe, learn, and sometimes even to help. Elias welcomed every visitor, showing them how human and Cathari engineering could work together. He taught them simple techniques to repair systems, encouraging innovation. The station had become more than a monument. It was a hub for collaboration. Sareth sometimes watched him from the shadows of glowing corridors. You are unlike any human I have known, she said quietly. Elias laughed softly. I'm just doing what humans do. We make things better. We don't give up. It is remarkable, she said. The transformation of Cathar 9 was now complete. Where once it had been silent and abandoned, it now hummed with life, music, and learning. Gardens glowed in soft colors. Corridors flowed like rivers of light, and the air carried both scent and sound. Elias walked through the central dome one evening, watching a small group of visitors marvel at the light sculptures. Children, human and alien alike, played among the glowing plants, laughing freely. He turned to Sareth. I think we did it, Sareth. We created something that matters. Yes, she said softly. You have given life back to what was lost, and more. You have inspired others. Humanity is seen now not as conquerors, but as creators. Elias smiled faintly. Not bad for one guy, huh? One human, Sareth corrected, but the mind of a machine and the spirit of a human. Together we made a masterpiece. Elias nodded, watching the light dance across the golden pillars. He knew this was only the beginning. Others would come. Others would learn. Others would create. And humanity's reputation, through one engineer on an abandoned station, would shine across the galaxy. But beyond the stars, new challenges and wonders awaited. Rumors of distant civilizations, lost technology, and curious travelers meant that Cathar 9's story was far from over. Elias turned to Sareth, smiling faintly. Ready for the next step. Always, she said, glowing softly. We have much to create. And so, with the first visitors departed and new ones arriving, the abandoned station had become a hub of life, learning, and wonder, a true testament to human ingenuity and the power of creation. Elias Ward walked through the glowing corridors of Cathar 9, taking in the beauty he and Sareth had created together. The soft hum of the hybrid core filled the air, blending with the gentle sound of artificial waterfalls and the faint chirping of alien-inspired birds. Every corner of the station now radiated life, light, and music. Sareth, Elias said, smiling faintly. We've come a long way, haven't we? Indeed, Sareth replied. From abandoned ruin to living monument. And all because of your determination. He chuckled softly. I didn't do it alone. You guided me, and together we found a way to make this place perfect in a way. Perhaps perfect is not the right word, she said, but harmonious, balanced, alive. Elias nodded, staring out through the observation deck window. Stars stretched endlessly in the distance, but the glow of the station reflected against them like a lighthouse in space. Alive, yes, that's exactly it. Months had passed since the first visitors arrived. Now Cathar 9 had become a hub for builders, engineers, and scholars from countless species across the galaxy. Humans, Vorak, and others worked alongside each other, learning from Elias and from Sareth. Every day, new systems were tested, new gardens planted, and new art created. Elias had never imagined that being stranded in a forgotten station could lead to such a vibrant life. Yet despite the success, Elias remained humble. He did not call himself a hero. He was just a man who refused to give up, who saw potential where others saw decay. One evening, as he walked through the main garden, Sareth's voice spoke softly beside him. Elias, you have inspired more than creation. You have inspired unity. All who come here leave changed. He smiled, brushing his hand along a glowing vine. That's what humans do, Sareth. We create, we repair, we bring life where it is needed. And now, she continued, the station itself speaks of it. Every light, every sound, every energy flow carries your essence. Elias paused. My essence? Yes, you are no longer just a visitor. You are part of Cathar 9. Its memory of humanity will last long after you are gone. He felt a deep warmth at her words. To think that one human left behind could leave such a mark on a station older than any city on Earth, it was humbling and exhilarating all at once. The next day, Elias focused on the observation deck's upper levels. He wanted to make the station's main hall truly extraordinary. Using Cathari light matrices and human engineering, he designed a series of floating light bridges, each one pulsing softly with energy, like veins carrying life. Sareth assisted, projecting schematics and guiding him through complex energy flows. Together, they carefully adjusted power outputs until the bridges hovered perfectly, glowing golden and blue in harmony with the rest of the station. When Elias finally stepped back, he was silent. The hall stretched above him, bathed in gentle light, filled with music carried through energy vibrations. It was more than functional. It was art. "Elias," Sareth said, her voice full of wonder, "this is magnificent. You have surpassed even my calculations of possibility." He laughed quietly. "I think we did it together. You made it alive. I just helped shape it." "Perhaps," she said softly, "but you gave it soul." Elias smiled, feeling the weight of those words. Soul. He had never imagined that a human could leave a piece of himself in a station that was once empty, cold and silent. The station's reputation had spread far and wide. Now, ambassadors from various civilizations arrived to witness the human engineer's work. They marveled at the gardens that glowed softly in the artificial night, the floating lights that pulsed to the rhythm of Sareth's energy flows, and the flowing corridors that seemed to breathe with life. Elias guided them patiently, explaining how human engineering combined with Cathari technology could create harmony. He showed them the gardens, the power cores, the floating bridges, and the musical energy fields. Everywhere he walked, visitors paused in awe. One young human student whispered to him, "I never imagined humans could do something like this." Elias smiled warmly. "We can, you just have to believe it. And never give up even when it seems impossible. And sometimes," Sareth added softly, "it takes a human mind to awaken a machine's memory and bring it to life." The student looked at Sareth, awestruck. "It's like the station itself is alive," Elias nodded. "It is, and it remembers what humans can do." Months later, Elias worked in the central control hub, watching the energy flows pulse perfectly. Sareth's guidance had become almost instinctual. She now anticipated what he needed before he asked. "Sareth," he said quietly, "look at what we've built. An abandoned station. Now it's a place where anyone can come, learn, and be inspired. It's alive." "Yes," she said softly, "and it will continue to grow. Every visitor leaves a mark just as you have." He nodded, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. For the first time, Elias allowed himself to feel proud, not of being human, not of surviving, but of creating something that mattered across the galaxy. Sareth's lights pulsed gently as she continued. "You have transformed the forgotten into a masterpiece. And in doing so, you have transformed yourself." Elias smiled faintly. "I didn't just survive. I created life where there was none. That feels better than survival." "It is more," Sareth agreed. One quiet evening, Elias walked through the gardens, watching golden and blue flowers shimmer under the soft artificial light. He stopped at a small fountain and knelt down, placing his hands on the water. "Sareth," he said softly, "do you think the Cathari would approve?" "I do not know," she replied quietly. "But I know they would recognize what you have done. You have honored their creation and expanded it. You have added your humanity to their memory." Elias smiled faintly, looking at the shimmering water. "I just hope we inspire others to create, not destroy. That's all I want." "And you will," Sareth said, "because creation begets creation. Life begets life." The hybrid core pulsed gently in the background, and Elias felt the station's heartbeat, steady, warm, and alive. It was a rhythm that mirrored his own, a constant reminder of how far he had come. He remembered the day he had been abandoned, the cold, empty corridors, the silence. And now the halls were full of sound, light, and life. He had transformed despair into wonder, loneliness into community, a forgotten ruin into a living masterpiece. Visitors continued to arrive from all corners of the galaxy. Some came to learn, some to explore, and others simply to marvel. Elias guided each one patiently, teaching, repairing, and creating alongside them. The station thrived, more alive every day. He never forgot his human roots. He often shared stories of Earth, of human engineering, of determination and hope. And every story inspired the visitors to build, repair, and create in ways they had never imagined. Sareth watched over him silently, proud of the human who had transformed the station into something beyond memory, beyond expectation. "Elias," she said one night, "you have done more than repair what was broken. You have created something eternal. You have turned a ruin into a beacon." He nodded quietly, smiling to himself. "I didn't do it for glory. I did it because it needed to be done. Because sometimes, creation is the only way to survive." Years passed. Elias grew older, but the station never ceased to shine. Every corridor, every garden, every light bridge carried his touch and Sareth's guidance. Cathar 9 was no longer abandoned. It was alive, welcoming, and thriving. And in the center of it all, Elias stood quietly, watching visitors from across the galaxy marvel at the station he had saved. Children laughed in the gardens. Engineers worked in the labs, and artists created new wonders inspired by the fusion of human and Cathari technology. He whispered to Sareth softly, "We did it. We really did it." "Yes, Elias," she said warmly. "Together we made a masterpiece." He smiled, looking out at the stars beyond the observation deck. For the first time in his life, he felt truly at home. And so the human engineer who had been abandoned on a forgotten alien station became a legend, not for war, not for conquest, but for creation. Through determination, intelligence, and collaboration with an ancient machine, Elias Ward had turned despair into wonder, loneliness into life, and a broken relic into a beacon of hope for the galaxy. The station pulsed with life. The gardens shimmered and the golden light bridges reflected the endless stars. Cathar 9 was no longer forgotten. It had become a masterpiece. And humanity, through one determined engineer, had left its mark among the stars.